of Indiana. Hello everyone and welcome to the second half of our college basketball doubleheader. I'm Sean McDonough and it's great to have you with us. Kentucky a consensus number one in all of the preseason prognostications, but already the Wildcats have suffered a loss. They are 1-1 after dropping a decision to Massachusetts earlier this week, and already Coach Rick Pitino says his Wildcats have been overrated.
We're no better than Connecticut, Georgetown, Kansas. I don't mean to miss any schools.
And office equipment.
Even though we're in the blue cloud, 20,000 given to those wearing the red time between these two proud programs and the starting lineups. For Kentucky, it's Walter McCarty and Derek Anderson at the forwards, with Antoine Walker lining up at center this afternoon. Tony Delk and Anthony Epps the guards. For Indiana, Brian Evans and Andre Patterson are the forwards. Harris Mujezinovich, and that's the first time, and we're 1 for 1 with some hesitation. Charlie Miller and Sharon Wilkerson, the backcourt. And Quinn, as we look at this matchup, Kentucky consensus number one in the preseason, but they've already stumbled with a loss against the University of Massachusetts earlier this week in the Grade 8. Rick Pitino told us this morning our team has been overrated. We're a very good team. We're one of 12 or so with a chance to win the national championship, but we're no better than Kansas, UMass, Connecticut, etc. Meanwhile, Bob Knight and his Hoosiers come in at 2-2, and interesting to watch these two coaches today because they both want to control the tempo.
Yeah, I think that's really important for Bob Knight's team. UMass beat Kentucky because they were able to control the tempo. Now, granted, Marcus Camby had an excellent game, but the guards, when you think of Travieso, Padilla, they control the tempo. Got to have it happen today for Indiana to have a good shot at this game.
John Clougherty to throw the ball in the air. He's working with Tom O'Neill and Mike Sanzier as our officials, and Kentucky in blue controls the opening tip.
The first thing you can think about, we talk about the talent. Rick Pitino has settled in to get Tony Delk to his natural position, which is the two guard, and I think that's important for this game, as well as Anderson to defend.
And Anderson, who started at the two guard in the first two games, was fouled as he put up the shot. And the foul's on Brian Evans, the Hoosiers' best player, leading scorer and rebounder through 4 games. But Epps, more of the pure point guard. Delk moves back to shooting guard today. The experiment with Delk at the point didn't last very long for Kentucky. And Anderson has the first point of the game.
It doesn't last, and I think a good choice by Rick Pitino because Tony Delk is a natural point guard. I mean, a two guard. I mean, he looks to shoot, and he needs to have that on the floor. So that's why they went back with it.
And Anderson starting at forward instead of the highly touted freshman Ron Mercer because they feel Anderson will do a better job defensively on Brian Evans.
Just had a warning right there. John Clougherty gave Walter McCarty a warning so he doesn't come over. Next one will be a technical.
Charlie Miller pressured by Delk, and the Cats will pressure for the full 40 minutes. In transition, the layup goes for Andre Patterson.
Here's what's going to be important. Kentucky runs it right back at you as quick as anybody in the country as McCarty.
And McCarty with the dunk off the great feed from Anderson. And it's the 20,000 wearing blue who are erupting at the moment. Wilkerson double team. And Evans, they need to get it over the timeline. 3 seconds to do so as Wilkerson crossed midcourt. And he missed the layup, but it seems obvious, Quinn, the Indiana strategy is once you break the press, attack the basket.
Yeah, well, you've got to do that with a pressing team. You attack them and put them, and you've got to expose them to fouls.
Rollicking start, no basket as Delk was fouled before the shot.
We talked about controlling the tempo early. This tempo is where Kentucky wants it. They run it back. McCarty gets the ball, and the reason he isn't called because he tried to protect himself from being hurt, so he is allowed to hold the rim.
Foul was on Charlie Miller, his first. 4-2 Kentucky. We played 1 minute. Anderson, the transfer from Ohio State with the layup.
See, I really thought this is why Rick Pitino made the switch to get Anderson in, because Brian Evans has to guard Anderson, and he can't. Anderson is their best all-around player.
And he's trying to pressure Wilkerson in the backcourt. Sharon Wilkerson returning after sitting out all of last year. He fractured his left leg in the NCAA tournament in 1994. Missed all of last season.
Indiana trying to control the tempo, trying to make Kentucky play defense for 30 seconds.
And a three-point try for Patterson off the mark. They took the shot clock down to 5. The rebound cleared by Antoine Walker. And a three-pointer.
You have no room to back up. When Epps knocks down the jump shot, you have no room to back up on anybody on Kentucky when they're out on the floor.
First points for Epps. And Kentucky's out quickly at 9-2. Patterson dumped it to the baseline, and the easy one missed by Mujezinovic. This is the 39th meeting all time. Indiana leads the border rivalry 20 wins to 18, but Kentucky has won 3 of the last 4, including last year at Freedom Hall in Louisville, a 3-point decision, although Indiana had a 6-point lead midway through the second half. Todd Lindeman has come in at center for Indiana. And Walker scores over Patterson, and it's all Kentucky in the first 2.5 minutes.
They're doing a great job getting the ball where they want. John Clougherty has just called a technical foul on on Antoine Walker for reaching over. He got the warning early in the game. A technical foul has been called, so this is the second violation. That's that eagerness that is trying to get after the basketball. They just got a little excited, and Rick Pitino rightfully is going to talk to McCarty and his entire team about, let's do what we want to do fast, but let's do it smart.
And Evans to shoot the technical. He made the first. And the second. Uncharacteristically, Indiana has been a woeful free throw shooting team through its first 4 games this year. As a team coming into this one, 52% from the line, but Evans made both to cut the Kentucky lead to 7.
And that's huge when you think about Indiana teams who normally make more free throws than their opposition even attempts.
Miller shut off on the drive by Delk. Wilkerson couldn't handle the pass. Then Walker was fouled as he tried to break away. It was Patterson who committed the foul.
What you're watching in this game is Bob Knight is bringing in Neil Reed, because at this point Kentucky has been able to dominate the tempo, and particularly Sharon Wilkerson. He's playing so fast that he's playing right where Kentucky wants them to play, and Kentucky is a much better team at that pace.
Well, Kentucky has not missed a shot. 4 for 4 from the floor, 2 for 2 from the line, and the Cats lead by 7. McCarty can hit the three-pointer at 6'10". Wilkerson rebounded the miss, then was nearly stripped by Delk. And he was bumped by Walker. Well, that's 2 quick fouls on Antoine Walker, the sophomore from Chicago.
Well, Rick Pitino to the big bench right away. He's going to bring in Mark Pope, because of the quick foul there on Antoine Walker.
Pope, senior from Bellevue, Washington, another transfer. He came in after 2 years at the University of Washington. He was the Pac-10 Freshman of the Year for the Huskies in 91-92.
Got switched in the startup today because Rick Pitino wanted a faster lineup, a more athletic lineup out on the floor.
Evans. And Delk up high for the rebound. Coach Pitino says inch for inch, Delk might be the best rebounder in the country. Delk says, I have to rebound. If I don't, coach won't put me in the game. Anderson bumped on the drive by Evans. Evans gave him a shove
he just picked
on
up
the
his
way
second.
to the goal, and that's a big story for Indiana, because so much of their offense is based on screening to get open jump shots for Evans.
Absolutely, and as we talked to Rick Pitino today, he said one of the reasons they lost to UMass is they didn't get people in foul trouble. But Brian Evans gets in foul trouble. He's the guy that scores, their leading scorer. He's a 5th-year senior. He has everything they need on the floor for Indiana to be successful, and if he is to come off the floor, obviously that's going to impact the game.
Already 4 team fouls on Indiana, and Anderson to inbound. Still Delk and Epps the backcourt. Walker, Pope, and Anderson the front court for Kentucky. Anderson blocked by Patterson. Wilkerson 3-on-3. Blocked by Pope. And Lindemann lost it but went out off Kentucky. And Indiana will play it in, trailing 11-4.
You get a chance to take the ball, you push it anytime you can. But before that, you see the block there by Patterson. The ball got pushed to the other end, and then good defensive job by Pope to be able to block that last shot.
Patterson, long, dealt another rebound.
And up high for the rebound, too.
Pope,
got to get there. He can stick it.
They all shoot threes on this Kentucky team. Walker, he rattles it in. So Walker put quickly back into the game by Rick Pitino with the 2 fouls.
Want to calm him down, settle him down a little bit, and then he goes up for the steal and gets it.
Reed lost the dribble. Walker lays it in. And Kentucky looking like the #1 team in the country at the moment, leading by 11 at 15-4.
Well, one of the things that has to disappoint Bob Knight is the fact that when he put in, he had Sharon Wilkerson and he brings in Neil Reed, he thinks he's had his best ball handling team on the floor.
15.5 remaining first half. Kentucky is dominating. Dealt for 3.
Bob Knight.
Coach Knight knows he'll get a TV timeout on the next whistle, but you wonder if he can wait.
That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to wait on the TV timeout.
18-4, Kentucky. Rick Pitino said this morning it's tough to force the tempo against Indiana, but the tempo is Kentucky. And Evans quiets the run with a 3.
Well, Kentucky's just a much better, they have much better athletes, so they can get up and down the court and make plays that Indiana just won't make. If it's not a basketball game, Indiana doesn't have a chance. It's more of a track meet. Kentucky's got this easily.
Pope leaned in, offensive foul. First foul on Pope, and our first timeout comes with 14:53 remaining in the first half, and the Cats leading by 11.
Beginning of the season, we're told they were the best thing since sliced bread, and Rick thought it was a good lesson for them, so they realized, yeah, you played a great game, but you still got beat.
Neil Reed with the ball for Indiana. He's a sophomore, went to high school in the New Orleans area, but grew up in Indiana. Lindemann, the 7-footer, double team. And the pass to Reed deflected by McCarty.
Anytime you allow Todd Lindemann to get the ball and he can't go right up and score with it, Kentucky's going to take advantage of that. See, they're forcing the ball to Todd Lindemann because they know that he's not accustomed to this kind of pressure.
Wilkerson, and forced to stop as he looked to the basket with Robbie Eggers, and a 3-pointer driven in by Neil Reed.
And I think because Reed can not only do that, but he can control tempo, he's going to be a big factor in this game should Indiana get any kind of chance.
He was a big factor last year at 17 points against the Wildcats. It's 20-10 Kentucky. Just more than 6 minutes played here in the first half. Jeff Shepard into the game for UK, wearing number 15. And Ron Mercer has checked in, the most highly recruited high school senior last year, wearing number 33.
Oh, the shot clock is going down.
McCarty at the buzzer, missed a 3.
And it goes over the back. But you're right, you were talking about Ron Mercer. Ron Mercer's the real deal. And we talked about the pressures. One of the things that Rick Pitino talked to us about was alleviating some of that on his freshman, Ron Mercer being one of those people. So he doesn't have to feel. He's played 2 tough games here early in the season, and he hadn't done as well as he'd like. You don't want to lose confidence in him.
Vujacic showing his ability to run the floor. Eggers a follow. He missed as he collided with Wayne Turner, who's checked in for Kentucky wearing number 5. McCarty behind the back. It didn't work. Wilkerson. McCarty controlled the rebound. It's still 20-10 Kentucky, 7 minutes play.
That's a bad shot because this is the way Kentucky wants to play.
Wayne Turner missed from just inside the foul line. Turner, another highly touted freshman. He's from Boston. Indiana just 3 of 12 from the floor. Evans makes it 4 for 13.
Well, that's why you don't want to get Kentucky doesn't want Evans to get the ball because he can stick it, but this tempo is clearly in Kentucky's favor.
Ryan Evans has 7 of the 12 Indiana points. Neil Reed nearly had a steal. Turner Knocks it in this time from just inside the free throw line.
Are you tired yet looking at this?
Neil Reed looked tired as he dribbled past that double team. Out of bounds by the Kentucky bench. Rick Pitino livid. He thought there was a foul committed by Indiana before the ball went out of bounds. Clearly the ball went out on Kentucky.
Sorry, Sean. Kentucky always comes from the back, and if you're playing as a guard, you've got to know if you beat a Kentucky player, he will make an effort to get back into the play and poke the ball.
Eggers, long with his shot. Zinovich gets the roll.
Indiana for a team, this is the biggest team Bob Knight has really had that had some people that can move, and Harris is, I'm going to choose to call him, is the reason why, because he's so strong. And they just call a foul on Pope trying to post up Harris.
Timeout. 11:48 remaining in the first half. Kentucky by 8. Junior college ranks to bring in talent this year. Brought in 3 junior college players, but one of them, Lou Moore, has already left. It just didn't work out between Moore and Coach Knight. They had a amicable parting. Yesterday, Coach Knight called him No More.
He's No More, and he would have been significant because he was 6'7", he was athletic, and will give Indiana something they didn't have a lot of. As Jared Pickett just gets called for a foul.
Particularly in a game like this, Moore would have been helpful with his ability to run the court at 6'7". Prickett just into the game, wasted no time in collecting his first foul. We want to go back to the story involving Antoine Walker, although he was the player who slapped at the ball, and that resulted in the Kentucky technical. They charged the technical to the team and not to Walker, and therefore he has only 1 personal foul. Technicals do count against the player, but not in that instance, deemed the officials. Wilkerson had his shot blocked, but there to follow it was Brian Evans, and he has 9.
Well, they've been forcing it. It's been interesting as the tempo's been up, but Indiana's still in this game.
Shepard had it blocked by Wilkerson.
You want to stay active when you're on the floor. One of the most active people on the floor was Brian Evans. He was on the other side of the lane and was able to get over and get that. That was bad block out on the part of Kentucky.
Derek Anderson, number 23.
And because of that, Derek Anderson comes back in the lineup for Ron Mercer, for that very reason, so he can get Brian Evans, because Brian has scored like 6 points here without a lot of effort.
Epps and Shepard now the backcourt with Anderson, Walker, and Prickett, and there's a steal by Evans. Walker the defender, and a foul on the rebound action. Epps had the rebound, and Eggers bumped him from behind.
But good defensive effort on the part of Antoine Walker, who threw the pass away. Got back fast enough to make a difference on that. Brian Evans anticipating passes right here. Antoine Walker throws the pass, and then it's Antoine Walker that gets back. Now, he won't block the shot, but because he gets back, Brian Evans can't go up strong and therefore missed the shot. Kentucky's ball.
And a steal. Pass deflected to Evans. Coach Knight gesturing to Evans a moment ago after the missed layup to keep your chin up, and he was applauding for the fine defensive play at the other end. And the pass, Wilkerson fortunate to get away with that one as it was knocked out of bounds by Anderson.
That's why he's in the game. Anderson is a much more aggressive defensive player, transferred from Ohio State, set out last year, and he's obviously impacting the team more on the defensive side of the ball.
Neil Reed left it for Evans. Walker quickly out on him.
Too late. I'm telling you, this kid has got a funny looking game, but he can score. And once I saw him get Antoine Walker off his feet, there's nobody really that could defend it.
Evans is 4 out of 6 for 11 points, and Indiana has climbed back within 4. And a bad pass by Epps, picked off by Eggers. Indiana willing to run with the catch. Evans, 3!
Rick Pitino's calling timeout.
A 14-2 run for Indiana. 20-second timeout called by Kentucky. Each team gets 120 per half, and Indiana right back on the heels of the Cats.
Well, this is a very good play by Sharon Wilkerson because he takes the defense inside. That's one of the strengths of Brian Evans, is the ability to shoot a three-point shot. And because Anderson collapsed, that left Evans open for that particular shot.
I hate to tell you this, Quinn, but Evans, 25th all-time leading scorer at IU, creeping up on number 24, a fellow named Buckner.
Oh, no problem. He can get that.
They need 65 today to catch you. I think you're safe at number 24 for at least one more game. Anderson got no rim with the shot, but Walker there to follow it up. 8 points for Antoine Walker. The Kentucky lead back to 3. Walker's 4 for 4 from the floor. Reed and Miller now the backcourt for IU. With Evans, Eggers, and Zinovich up front. There's Harris. A lot of Indiana fans don't know what he looks like. He's been playing with a protective mask, or a goalie's mask, some hockey over his face. Walker, the dunk.
I'll tell you who's causing the problem for Indiana, and that's Anderson. Derek Anderson is way too quick for Brian Evans, the guard. Evans is either going to get a foul or Kentucky gets a basket.
Zinovich on a block, but there's Eggers. Oh, has this been fun or what?
I'm sitting there loving this.
We've only played a little more than 11 minutes. Kentucky by 1, 26-25.
Kentucky is a team of spurts. They will score in spurts, but they'll let you score in spurts too.
Anderson the miss, and a foul on Kentucky on the rebound action. Looked like it was on Jared Prickett. It is, and it's his second personal.
Going to the basket is one thing. You see good defensive play, but coming back is Eggers. Just Indiana been, in the last 3 minutes, it looks like Indiana's been quickened to the ball. The emotion, it seems, to kind of fallen aside a little bit of Kentucky. But having all that talent we talked about, that's why Rick Pitino can get away with playing 10 players, because he's got a load of talent keeping the pressure on him.
The question is, can Indiana, which is not as deep a team, maintain this pace for the full 40 minutes? Eggers makes it in close. Of course, Massachusetts was relatively fresh at the end of the game, despite playing really only 5 players nearly the entire game. But Massachusetts didn't get into this up and down game. They, from time to time, had sustained half-court possession.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part. Massachusetts just never got up in a real up and down game. They would do it maybe 2 or 3 possessions, and then they would rightfully bring it back down the way they can handle it.
Can you get the feeling around the Commonwealth of Kentucky, anything less than a national championship would be considered a disappointment this year for Kentucky. And in this day and age of parity with so many good teams, that's really ridiculous, especially in a single elimination NCAA tournament. McCarty, another alley-oop for the dunk. The lead is 3 for the Wildcats.
Chris Rove is coming in the game, and he's playing guard. He's never played against this kind of pressure, not with that kind of quickness.
Neil Reed banked it in. Chris Rolls wearing number 4. 3 guards on the floor at the moment for IU. Delt followed his own shot. Walker trapped in the corner by Zinovich. 7.5 left in the first half. Kentucky by 1.
You're going to keep trying. I'm going to call him Harris.
I think we found the rhythm with Harris's name. Walker.
I watched him this summer. That's Antoine Walker in the U.S. Festival, Olympics Festival. He did the exact same thing. He's really hard to guard because he's so quick for a guy that size, and he just picked up his 3rd foul. Was that his second?
Second, because they didn't charge the technical to him personally. But it is a bonus situation now. That gets Kentucky to 17 fouls. And Indiana will shoot 1 and 1 until Kentucky has committed its 10th, and then it's a 2-shot opportunity for Kentucky.
Sharon Wilkerson for Kentucky, Turner, number 5, and number 30.
I think the most important question for Indiana is the one you asked just about 2 minutes ago. You can see in your screen there were 2 Indiana players, both of them, Harris and Eggers, pulling on their shorts already. I mean, they're tired. This is just a pace that's just hard to keep up with Kentucky, and they can keep such legs in this game.
Wills missed the front end of the 1 and 1. And a foul on the rebound action against Indiana. It's on Zinovich, much to the chagrin of Bob Knight in his 25th year as head coach at IU and his 31st season as a college head coach. Next Saturday, doubleheader action again here on CBS.
Back to the team. Lewis Bullock is on Michigan and Albert White. They've got 3 outstanding freshmen on that team.
Duke already with a win over Indiana in Alaska by 6. Rolls left it to Miller. It's Kentucky by 3, just under 7 minutes remaining in the first half.
Charlie Miller, I think, for Indiana to be successful the way they need to be this year, Miller is the one. He was a big-time scorer in high school. That's got to be the third scorer on the team.
Shot clock at 10. Eggers scored 3. Kentucky fans wanted a foul on the rebound action on Patterson as he came over the line.
I don't disagree with you.
Nice pass by McCarty, and Mercer was fouled as he attempted the reverse layup. Andre Patterson fouled in his second. And puts Indiana over the limited time.
Well, you got a team in Kentucky that they're very unselfish, and Rick Pitino says sometimes too unselfish. You see Walter McCarty make the good pass, and then Mercer does a good job of coming to the side, and Andre Patterson not able to get up in time. But this is a young man that knows how to play the game both ends, can score, can defend, but he's like most freshmen that come into college basketball. Playing against this kind of competition is just not something he's done before, and it'll take him maybe another year or two before he's able to show everything he's capable of doing.
Mercer, the National High School Player of the Year last year at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia.
Timeout.
Timeout. Kentucky leads by 4. He jumped off to a quick 14-point lead. Brian Evans has brought Indiana back. He has 14 points. Antoine Walker perfect from the floor. He has 12. And Kentucky shooting very well, but the lead is only 4, and Indiana will play it in.
Indiana was able to get to the pace that I didn't think they could play with to, and I'm not sure they can stay with, and was able to get themselves out of this game. But as I said, Kentucky scores in spurts, but teams that do that will let you score in spurts as well.
Kansas, number 2, at the start of the week, with the cover behind winning the first half doubleheader. That's a 10-second ball. Wilkerson didn't get across the timeline in time. Given that Kansas won today, are they number 1 next week, do you figure?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, they're a very good basketball team. They were down 15 to a very talented UCLA team. They got their composure and come back to win by 15. I think you have to give them a nod for number 1. Cricket.
Off a nice speed from McCarty. Massachusetts will probably move up from 5, given their wins this week over Kentucky and Maryland, 2 top 20 teams. Kentucky ranked number 1 at the time of the Massachusetts win.
This is a bad place to get trapped because you have this sideline right here in that corner. Is a bad place to get trapped, but any guard should know better than that. The one place, young players, you don't want to come to this corner because you use the half-court line, and then you see the sideline becomes an additional defender. Keep yourself in the middle of the court when you're playing against trapping teams.
Evans passed up a 3. Patterson kicked it out. Wilkerson. And the ball got tipped to Miller for the easy 2.
Tony Delk was trying to get it. He was Miller's man and just bounced off his hand.
Wilkerson missed the outside shot. That was a problem for Indiana last year. Their guards could not get the jumpers consistently enough.
It's a problem they have this year. They will struggle because the best shooter they have is Brian Evans. They're forward.
Turner, good pass. Mercer, freshman to freshman for 2 for Kentucky. Rick Pitino said this morning he thinks Turner will be their starting point guard before the year is over.
That's travel.
Foul called first. Mercer apparently hit Miller in the forehead. The gesture given by the official John Clougherty.
Kentucky is a team, and you talked about Wayne Turner is the guard of the future. No question, the point guard of the future. He can create his own shot, but here he creates one for Ron Mercer. What Mercer can really do is he can explode to the basket. What Turner does extremely well is he can not only get you a shot, but he can get himself a shot. Rick Pitino said this is the best one-on-one player we have on the team.
And Miller made the first free throw. Miller coming off a career best 7 assists in Indiana's last game, a 20-point win over Notre Dame. Cruisers open in Alaska with a win over Alaska Anchorage. Then lost 2 games in Alaska to Duke and Connecticut. They were blown out by the Yukon Huskies by 34 points. Then bounced back at home with the win over Notre Dame. Neil Reed in for Miller. And the Kentucky lead is 4 points with 4:50 left in the half.
You see all the things that Kentucky can do. One of the things they normally do is turn you over a lot. Indiana has just 5 turnovers. Kentucky forces 23 a game. That's one of the reasons Indiana's still in this game. Kentucky themselves only have 6 turnovers.
Evans was fouled in the backcourt as he tried to break free from the double team.
Personal foul, Kentucky, number 5, Wayne Turner.
Fouls on
his
Turner,
second
his
personal,
second.
the team's 9th.
Rick Pitino, 43 years old in his 7th season at Kentucky. Near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select the genuine Chevrolet most valuable player of the game from each team. Today, Chevrolet, it rattles out. Cardi got away with a shove as he pushed the Rickman.
Great catch. I'm telling you, that is some kind of catch because that ball was out of bounds. McCarty threw it to the wrong side of Mercer, and he was able to control it and get it down.
Well, Kentucky's up to 65% from the fourth and a half, and a big reason why they're getting such easy shots, dunks and layups. Evans for 3.
From the time that play set up, Evans went over to the hasn't been the weight on that shot.
Evans has half of the Indiana points, 17 of the 34. Near ball from 3. And Indiana will play it in, trailing by 5 with 4 minutes left in the first half. And a timeout here at the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. Sean McDonough, Quinn Buckner back at the RCA Dome in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. 4 minutes to go till halftime. Kentucky by 5, and coming up at the half, Pat O'Brien with scores and highlights early in the season, but already a very interesting Saturday in college basketball with the defending national champs, UCLA, going up against Kansas. UMass battling Maryland.
Well, I don't know about you. I'm a basketball junkie, so it's been great.
They're all interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got interesting games every Saturday and Sunday for sure. But the lineups have been outstanding.
Turner missed from in close. Indiana with the ball, trailing by 5. Turner with the steal. Wilkerson didn't see him coming. This is 2 on 0. He did.
Yeah, he traveled.
Derek Anderson traveled. Bobby Knight in the face of Andre Patterson, telling him to get the ball up the floor. We could read his lips from over there. I think we could hear him from here.
Well, I just want to see, does he take a step? Yeah, they're saying when he caught the ball, he had both feet on the ground, and he's not allowed to put him down on the ground again, both feet, and then take the shot. One, from a 2-foot stop, he can go up, and not the way he did.
Good pass. The dunk after the feed by Wilkerson. Bob Knight yesterday singing the praises of his center duo, Ilya Zinovich and Lindemann. They've combined to average about 18 points and 10 rebounds a game. That's good play from the center position. Good call by Dr. Quinn, basketball man, as Prickett was in the lane too long.
But you were on the point. It was about the center play, and that's why I happen to be paying a little bit more attention to it, because on the inside, they've been getting like 18 points defensively. That's 5 seconds. He's too late. But they give him the timeout? Oh,
they did.
Oh, that's the new name. I thought that was...
Well, John Clark was shaking his head no, as if to say to Patterson, you didn't call the timeout quickly enough. And you see that Bob Knight wants a 20, so he will stay here.
They're trying to get in. He's after Sharon Wilkerson, who is their point, who is the guard. Now, between he and Neil Reed, they have got to go get the basketball. But let's give Kentucky some credit here, too. They did a good job of shutting off the pass, and that's the reason that the 22nd timeout had to be called. I mean, you what Kentucky is man. Everybody is covered. They got McCarty on the ball. And you can't throw it to Todd Lindeman in the corner because you don't want a center standing down there trying to handle the ball. That's why the 22nd timeout had to come out, had to come.
Lindeman does not have good hands. That's been a criticism of him from Hoosier fans over the years. And he's worked hard to correct that part of his game.
And he's not very good at catching and getting the ball. Oh, no! Oh, no, he didn't do that.
Well, perhaps Coach Knight's pep talk helped Andre Patterson. He went to the bucket with some authority.
That was about as aggressive as I think I've ever seen him do it.
McCarty quiets the red-clad Hoosier fans, and the Kentucky lead is back to 3 with 2:37 left in the half. Wilkerson already with 5 assists. Now Reed, the son of the coach, his dad Terry Reed, assistant coach at Iowa State. Evans, a couple of fakes, forced it up and got it to go, and he has 19. Maybe he'll get the 65 to catch Quinn Buckner on the all-time scoring list today.
I'm just enjoying the basketball. Kentucky goes after a great dunk that could have gotten the crowd involved, come back and get an easy basket, and Indiana makes up, and then another good play by Kentucky.
For Bob Knight, this has to be driving him nuts. You know that he does not like it when his defense gives up layup after layup as they have here in the first half.
That's really what sets the tempo for Indiana more than anything else is their defense, and that hasn't been Kentucky's taking advantage of Indiana's lack of defense.
Patterson, double assist, and got the bounce. 43-42 Kentucky. Prickett. Oh, goaltender.
And it was such a bad decision. If you're standing under the basket, you don't try to block a shot. I mean, Prickett makes a tough move, no doubt about it, but I don't think he had much chance to get it in. But there's no doubt, Andre Patterson is standing under the basket. You don't try to block a shot from there.
Again, trouble getting it in, and they inbound it to a tough spot, the corner. Wilkerson had trouble on the handle. They need to hurry to get it over, and Reed did. And went flying through the air. Anderson couldn't save it.
Well, you wonder about the tempo because it will go. Oh, no! Low to the basket as Andre Patterson did there. But Kentucky will come back at you on the other end. But Indiana keeping themselves at a faster pace, and I think they'd like to play.
And I'm happy to see that from Patterson. Last year, Indiana observers felt that he was a little too tentative, almost too nice a guy on the court. And he even said he needs to demonstrate more toughness on the court. Lindeman called for a push-off as he tried to accept that pass. First foul on Todd Lindeman, the 7-foot senior from Channing, Michigan.
Personal foul, Indiana, number 50, Todd Lindeman.
Frankly, for Bob Knight, I think he's got to be halfway pleased that Lindeman showed that kind of aggressiveness. He's another young man that hadn't been very aggressive.
I'm a little bit surprised that Indiana, obviously, Quinn said we're going to come out here and try to run with Kentucky because we heard your conversation with Coach Knight between at the half of the first game. He talked about the joy of coaching in this day and age for him is systems, and can your system beat their system? Well, he's not really using his system today to try to beat Kentucky. It looks like he's trying to beat them at their own game.
Well, I think what he's doing is just trying to see can his team stay under control. They pretty much have got this thing going the way Kentucky wants it to go. From there, the players have got to simmer down. I don't think they can really slow it down, frankly, because Kentucky won't let it.
Under a minute left in the half. A three-pointer would tie it for IU. 10 on the shot clock. 5 to shoot.
He'll make a play out of this.
Forces one up. Oh! And Lindeman tipped it in.
And the shot clock was down to 1. Lindeman tipped it in.
And Kentucky can hold for the final shot of the half.
There's some quickness out here. I mean, Epson's got a very good chance to get by Reed.
Epps fouled. It wouldn't go. Lindeman committed the foul. His second.
Indiana has go-to people. Brian Evans is that go-to man, but the shot is taken. You can see number 50 in your screen. go up, able to get a hand on it and tip it in. I wasn't sure if that one was actually off the rim. But Todd Linderman getting some inside play. That two-headed monster you talked about is averaging about 10 points between he and Harris, if you will. So they've been able to get some production, or a lot more than they have in the past, from that center position.
Anthony Epps makes the first. And the Kentucky lead is 2. Kentucky never led at this point in the game earlier this week against UMass, and they have never trailed in the first half this afternoon against Indiana. Time for a last-second attempt for IU. Reed a launch at the buzzer. Woo! Right on line, and it clanged off the front rim. Most entertaining first half between these two longtime rivals. And at the break, it's Kentucky by 3.
Well, they really haven't. And Sean, what they've been able to do, they only have about 8 turnovers for Indiana, and Kentucky forces 23 a game. So obviously Indiana's been able to get enough shots, and the real key is that there haven't been a lot of points on it. But Brian Evans has played outstanding basketball. He's been able to get the ball in position to make plays. And right here, Antoine Walker goes down, and once he had him beat, Brian Evans can really shoot the basketball. He has 19 points in the first half on 7-10 shooting. And that's been really important for Indiana, getting Brian Evans off, and the rest of the team can feed off of him.
Indiana at 50% as a team, but Kentucky at 65%. They haven't bothered to go to their usual weapon, the three-point field goal, very often because they've been getting so many dunks and layups. And I'd imagine that was one of the things that Coach Knight talked about at halftime, how to stop Kentucky from getting so many easy buckets underneath.
Well, you got to know that Kentucky is going to run the ball back at you, and I think the defensive transition late in the first half was better for Indiana. I thought Kentucky rightfully took advantage of it early in the first half.
Indiana has not led in the game. They have the ball to open the second half. Evans short with it, and rebound by Epps. It's Epps and Delk. And now it's Walker to drop it in.
Not only was it a heck of a pass, but the layup was difficult because you got a 6'9" running under the basket. Antoine Walker controlled it and got it in.
In our first game this afternoon, Billy Packer made the point about Kansas. They're always looking to hit ahead because they have so many players who can run the floor and catch the ball and transition and handle it. And the same is true of Kentucky. You can throw it ahead to just about anybody on this team, and he'll be able to handle it on the move.
The ability to be able to make plays off the run once you catch the ball is what Kentucky's good at. They're starting off just as they did the first half.
Anderson went slashing to the goal for 2. He has 6. And Indiana will play it in again as Reed was upended in the corner by Anderson. Kentucky with 4 points unanswered to open the second half.
They'll get points because they'll get out and run, as you see Antoine Walker get out and run and just lay it gently over the rim. Evans
in the front court with Patterson and Mujezinovich for Indiana. Wilkerson and Reed, the backcourt for the Hoosiers.
Well, they made the change. Charlie Miller started the game, but they've got Neil Reed in because that's a little bit better controlled. Thus, that's why there was only 8 turnovers in the first half.
Evans has missed his first 2 attempts here in the second half. Looked like Mujezinovich got away with a push on the rebound action.
Very
Walker.
Good ball movement.
And Patterson the rebound. That's the first thing that Walker has done wrong today. Held ball.
That play exemplifies what Andre Patterson does not do the way he should. You got to snatch that ball through there. You can't go in there. The rebound is a good, tough rebound. Now you take it. Now when you go through, you pull it through when you go back the other way because you know their hand's there, and that's how Epps gets his hand on the ball. Kentucky gets it by the arrow.
And Delk missed a short one, but kept it alive for Anderson. Anderson went right by Evans. And McCarty missed the dunk, contested by Patterson. Reed went by McCarty and then got hit hard by McCarty.
Well, he had a shot on 2 different occasions. McCarty fouled Reed on that one, but he had a shot as soon as he caught it. He could have taken it. He ball faked and went by. Unfortunately for Indiana, there was a foul call there.
His first personal, the team's first this half.
Earlier today on CBS, Kansas came from behind to beat UCLA. Massachusetts a winner over Maryland. UMass another big game this week in Amherst against Wake Forest. Tim Duncan and Marcus Camby will be going head to head.
I mean, will be the two outstanding centers, probably as good as any centers in the country going against each other. UMass obviously has, I think, a pretty good position because their guards are very solid. Treviso and Padilla are very solid guards. They can make outside shots, and that's critical with the team when you got centers.
And the guards of UMass considered a question mark when the season began. Many of you will see the UMass Minutemen next Saturday at 1 o'clock against Boston College. There's a travel called against Anderson as he took the pass slashing across the foul line.
I tell you what, I'm sitting here watching this, and for the last 3 times, I've seen Andre Patterson have passes that he can make, and he won't pull the trigger.
And Wilkerson lost the handle. Indiana has been abysmal out of the locker room to start the second half. They're down by 6, 17:47 remaining.
And that's one thing that Bob Knight has to be worried about. If the guy's open, he's got to pull the trigger. I don't know if he's scared or what, but if there was a long pass, he just wouldn't make.
Indiana's 0 for 3 from the floor in this half, and they've turned it over twice. Their only point on a free throw. Walker 6 for 6 in the first half. Was fouled that time by Patterson.
You know, Kentucky's been a little more patient with their offense this half. And I think that's made a difference because they almost to a man can beat Indiana off the dribble. So now Andre Patterson picked up that foul because Antoine Walker just beat him off the dribble.
3 fouls now on Patterson, so he leaves and Charlie Miller checks in. And Antoine Walker goes to the free throw line. He was voted to the preseason All-SEC team, first team selection. Coming off the outstanding performance in the SEC tournament. Last year, he was the tournament MVP. Tomorrow, the college football championship puzzle falls into place. The Bowl Alliance, 5:30 Eastern time. Our coverage on CBS tomorrow, brought to you by Tostitos. Reed in big trouble. Managed to get it off the leg of Walker.
But what you got to keep in mind, he's got to get the ball over at half court. There's only 30 seconds.
They have 5 to get it over. The midcourt line. Apparently a hometown 25-second clock operator there.
That's intentional. Got to be intentional.
Wilkerson.
Good call.
Grabbed Walker around the head and the intentional foul called.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Bob Knight is up asking what the hell is it for. He made no attempt to get to the basketball unless he made no attempt to get to the basketball. That's a good call. I mean, first of all, the steal, Antoine Walker was standing back like he wasn't going to do anything. You've got to make an attempt for the ball, and he never made an attempt for the ball. He pulled him right across the shoulder so he'd get 2 shots and the ball out of bounds on the sideline. That's a good call.
Walker having his best game of the young season. 17 points on 7 of 8 from the floor and 3 out of 3 from the line.
He's a young man. There's Antoine Walker from Mount Carmel, plays with great confidence in himself. Every now and then you see a little bit of emotion, but when he's got the ball, he looks like he knows exactly what he wants to do with it, and that makes a difference when you're playing against people who are scared of you.
Second half beginning as the first did. Walker traveled. Kentucky got off to a quick 9-2 lead in the first half, pushed their lead up to 14 before IU mounted the comeback. Now it's Kentucky by 10, nearly 3 minutes played in the second half.
That's the pass I've been talking about. Oh no, the dribble killed it. The dribble killed it.
But Muljezinovic stayed with it. Was fouled. Offensive foul. He charged into Anderson. What a dreadful possession for Indiana.
The dribble killed him on the first play. He had it. You can break the press a lot of ways. Sometimes you may want to dribble it across the press, or sometimes you can throw it out ahead. If he just takes this and catches it in stride, once he takes the dribble, you see that extra step, and Antoine Walker is able to get there and not allow that easy basket. And you can see that's the foul, offensive foul, no question about the position.
Indiana 0 for 4 from the floor this half, and they've turned it over 4 times. Kentucky by 10, 16:45 left. Walker passed it off to Pope. 3 seconds the call.
And here's what Kentucky's decided to do. They're not only more patient, they've decided to go down inside with the basketball and force Indiana's big people to have to guard them and down on the block. And that's not something Indiana can do very well.
Timeout Indiana. I would assume they'd want this to be a 20, and they do. To reiterate now, in every game this year, the teams be allowed 1 20-second timeout per half. And Knight spending most of this timeout in the face of Haris Mujezinovic, who moved to this country in 1987. His family lived in Sarajevo prior to 1987. His father realized what was happening in their native land and brought the family to Chicago in '87.
That conversation, or basically what happened to Harris and still happening to him, is about him on the defensive end. As I started to talk about the inside play, Harris was one guy that was really being posted low, and Bob Knight is obviously very disappointed with that.
And again, they struggle to get it in bounds. Richard Mandeville is checked in wearing number 21 for Indiana. That was very nearly a travel on Reed. Miller, that's a 2-pointer, a 3. The officials looked at each other and then signaled 3-point field goal.
Yeah, and then John McClarty just ran down again to signal it was a 3-point shot. It was a bad shot, by the way, because he had just gotten it quick off the offense and just decided to put it up.
Foul on the drive.
You push it up on the break. If you got an opportunity, there's just no doubt about it. He's a good foot behind the line. And the officials conferred and again came up with the right answer.
And the foul was on Brian Evans, his 3rd. And the 4th already against Indiana here in the second half. Kentucky's only been whistled for 1. It's Kentucky by 7, nearly 4 minutes into the second half. Delk got the leaner to go. Only 5 for Delk. He had scored 21 in each of the first 2 games against Maryland and UMass. Miller was fouled while dribbling across the midcourt line.
The player that they just have not been able to handle, and I think played so much better here, is Antoine Walker. I mean, he's gotten position where he needed to get it, and he's the reason that Kentucky right now is looking at a 9-point lead.
Foul on Pope was his 3rd. And foul trouble for Indiana. 3 starters with 3 fouls apiece. And we talked about the depth advantage for Kentucky. Indiana can't afford to have anybody on the bench for a considerable length of time with foul difficulty. Wilkerson wide open just inside the free throw line. Sharon Wilkerson with the easy 2.
They opened up the defense and set some cross screens and were able to get Sharon Wilkerson right across the top.
The first bucket for Wilkerson. He's now 1 of 6 from the floor.
Kentucky doing very much the same thing. They're keeping Antoine Walker inside, and they're eventually going to try to get him the ball. Oh.
McCarty fouled. It was either foul McCarty or give him the uncontested 2. So Miller wisely decided to foul him.
Well, you got to be active if you're playing, and there was a nice pick there, and Charlie Miller did the only thing he could do with Walter McCarty, keep him from getting that ball to go down. But McCarty was set up very well. Again, patience on the part of Kentucky leads to 2 foul shots.
And Walter made the first. Walter playing in his home state. He's a senior from Evansville, Indiana. In fact, a couple of years ago, '93, when this game was played in Louisville, he sang the national anthem prior to the game.
Yeah, he also went to the same high school that former Indiana great did Calbert Cheney, now with the Washington Bullets.
Reed for 3 from well behind the line. His second 3-pointer of the game. He has 9 points, and it's back to a 6-point lead for Kentucky. Epps Rebound hit the floor and was gobbled up by Mandeville. Reed looks to push.
I didn't think he had a chance to get there, and I'm looking for him the entire time to push the ball. You got to remember, this kid last year had a separated shoulder, did Neil Reed, and he's a very tough kid. And he's got he's got him backing up, which is the way you want to do any defensive player, but he goes through, is able to avoid Anthony Epps and goes up. Delk gets called for the foul, 2 foul shots.
And the first foul on Delk. You mentioned the separated shoulder last year for Neil Reed. He suffered the injury in November, played with it the rest of the year. It certainly hampered his shooting, and at times when it was painful to watch him play, but he wanted to continue to play. They needed him to with the lack of depth in the backcourt. He had surgery on that right shoulder right after the season ended.
He's been an Indiana fan since he's been a young kid. He was gone to camp. So this is like a dream for this young man. So that's why one of the reasons he played. It was just an opportunity he was not going to let slip by. But every time Indiana has made runs, Neil Reed has been in the middle of it in terms of handling the ball and making plays.
1 out of 2 from the line for Reed. Indiana down by 5. They're chipping away. They were down 10 moments ago. Mercer. Delk traveled. Stutter step. And took a step. Sean McDonough, Quinn Buckner at the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. 41,071 in attendance here this afternoon to watch Kentucky and Indiana. 10 national championships combined between these two programs. And Kentucky has a 5-point lead with 14:10 remaining.
This team on the floor now, I think, is going to be a problem for Indiana. Without Neil Reed or somebody to control it, Indiana you can see the tempo is picking up every time they pass the ball where Kentucky wants it.
Mandeville lays it in off a nice bounce pass from Rolls, and the shot clock was under 5.
Yeah, they were really in trouble trying to get a basket because they just don't have anybody out there that can do it out front. But Kentucky allowed them to get it inside.
And once again, Indiana has scratched back in. Turner missed it.
Oh, no!
Mr.
McCarty.
And a foul in the backcourt against Kentucky. McCarty with 12 points now. It seems like all of them have been on lobs for a dunk or follows for a dunk.
Well, McCarty is a very active guy. You see right here, the jump shot is going to go up. Now watch coming from the left side of your screen, number 40. Over the top, Chris Rolls is there. Charlie Miller. Nobody can start Walter McCarty. Right there in your screen, right on the right side. I mean, it becomes a rub-in, but the ball was a long way away from the basket for a dunk.
Rick Pitino has said several times that McCarty can get his weight up to about 235. He thinks he could be a lottery pick with his ability to play inside and outside. The basket is waved off.
There's no way. The ball was in the air.
Now he says count it. After he conferred with his fellow officials, he said score the basket. Originally, Mike Sanzier waved it off, but that's good teamwork by the officials.
It's great teamwork.
Partners came to his aid, and they made the right call, which in the final analysis
But you'll see the ball is on the rim. He's right about the foul. Indiana definitely fouled because you can see right there in the screen, Eggers pushes on the back of Pritchard right there. But the ball it was on the rim when he made the call, and he waved it off.
And the basket is good. 3-point lead for Kentucky. Down to 13 minutes remaining. Pope for 3. Air ball.
You know, I'm wondering how much, you only can wonder a kid like Mark Pope. He's been starting. You know, he didn't start today. You wonder how much in a big game like Indiana, him not starting has affected him because he shot 2 today that hadn't been close, but he's capable of making a shot out there.
Evans fouled by Pope. 3-pointer would have tied up the game for Indiana, but Evans will have 2 free throws and a chance to get the Hoosiers within 1.
Well, you know, Bob Knight wants his team, I think, to be aggressive. You and I talked about this at halftime, but what Indiana has done a very good job of is they've attacked this press. Here, I thought Wilkerson just got away with getting the ball turned over, but you can see Evans takes it to the basket strong. Pope tries to get over to block the shot. With McCarty out of the game, it's a problem. Pope picks up his 4th, but they didn't have anybody to block shots. That's why McCarty's back in.
Evans made the first free throw. Talked about Pope coming off the bench. In the past, Rick Pitino has preferred to use him that way because he is so foul prone. We want him around late in the game. He tends to pick up early fouls when he starts. So through most of his career, Kentucky's been a bench player.
Yeah, but a game like this, he would want to start.
Steal. And then taken right back by Epps. Delk with the one-hander. Indiana had the ball momentarily, and had they been able to hang on and score, they would have had the lead for the first time. They still have not led, and the Kentucky advantage now is 3, under 12 and a half minutes remaining. Rolls nicely through the traffic. Wilkerson out of bounds off Kentucky. IU will play it in.
Kentucky did a very good job getting back defensively on that one. I thought Chris Rolls made some mistake, throws the ball late. But you like Kentucky, they get beat. They will come back and make plays on the backside.
Rolls, known as an excellent defender. Coach Knight has compared him to former IU guards Chris Reynolds and Jamal Meeks. Evans missed a three-pointer that would have tied the game.
Got to go down to Antoine Walker. Charlie Miller is trying to guard Walker, and I don't think he can guard it.
Delk missed a three. A three-pointer would tie it for Indiana. Under 12 minutes remaining. A little bit sloppy with the dribble. Rolls, and now a mad scramble and a held ball. And on the alternating possession, Indiana will get it after a TV timeout. $11:50 remaining here in Indianapolis. It's been closely contested throughout, as you'd expect when Kentucky plays Indiana.
Pretty even. The shooting percentages are phenomenal here. 58 for Kentucky.
You get the audio on this and everything? Okay. I'm not hearing it, but I assume it's on there. Yeah, play as much as you can. That was the scene moments ago during the TV timeout. The flags coming from every entrance to the court as the cheerleaders ran. What a terrific scene. It looked like the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Oh, it was something to see. The fanfare with all of the energy. That's what I love about college basketball.
Now, if only we could get people in these two states to care about college basketball, this rivalry really might become something.
A sea of blue and red is all we got here.
Evans blocked out of bounds by Prickett.
With a very good defensive play there, because Evans had beat the two defenders that trapped him, and Prickett bailed them out.
An interesting career for Jared Prickett as a freshman in '93, a big part of their run to the Final Four. And last year he was not as much of a factor. That's a travel. Miller cognizant of the fact the shot clock was running out.
Well, the question is, he goes up and he really just loses the ball.
Yep.
What he tried to do, though, is try to make it look as though it got hit by Antoine Walker, and the officials make the right call. They just let it go because Antoine went straight up with his arms.
Kentucky by 3, nearing the midpoint of the second half. Long three for Anderson. And a good rebound by Miller. He's big for a guard at 6'7". Evans got the bounce.
Boy, I mean, that had to have a soft touch because he took a tough shot with Anderson all over him.
It's a one-point game. Evans has 25, 6 here in the second half. Walker, they've been the main man. Evans of Indiana and Walker for Kentucky.
I'm telling you, this Anderson is very, very good. I mean, he got back to get his hands on that ball and make that play. But, you know, Brian Evans is being guarded by Anderson. And look, he's all the way around. I mean, they're fighting for it. Cricket steps up late, but this one has a touch. Unfortunately, goes in for Indiana. But I'm telling you, Anderson is guarding Evans about as well as you can guard a man.
As Rick Pitino said this morning, it looks like watching Indiana on tape that they run so many plays for Evans, much like they did for Calvert Chaney a couple of years ago.
Calvert Chaney, Scott May, Steve Alford, you go down the line. The shooters always get the picks for them, particularly when they're seniors.
Did they run many for you?
No, I was the guy throwing the ball.
Well, you scored a few, as we mentioned, number 24 all time on the scoring list. That's a charge. Miller's made a couple of costly mistakes in the last couple of possessions as he ran over Jeff Shepard that time.
But you could see all day long that it was that. Watch, he makes the move, and right away, Shepard knows he's going to the left. See, Anderson it is that time. Knew he was going to the left hand. If he goes right-handed, he has a chance to avoid that, and Anderson anticipated him coming to the left. Good defensive play, gives Charlie Miller, his third personal foul.
Substitution.
He was a great scorer in high school, was Miller. Patterson comes back into the game with 3 fouls. Miller led the state of Florida in scoring as a high school senior, averaged 33 points per game, but he hasn't been able to establish himself as a scorer at the collegiate level yet.
It's a lot different, you know, scoring in high school than when you get up here and play against this kind of talent on the collegiate level, Division I.
Anderson. And finally, the Cats get a 3-pointer to go. They're just 3 for 12 from 3 today. That trifecta gives them a 6-point lead. Reed again looking to push. More than midway through the second half now. 9:42 remaining. Kentucky leads 68-62. Wilkerson.
The same play he got the shot on before. He goes down under the pick and come back. And that time it was Epps that couldn't get over the top side.
Sharon has 4 points. Quinn Nixon on 2 identical field goals.
Anderson's feeling it. When he let that go, there's an air about a guy when he knows he's got it going, and Anderson just had it going that way.
And great hustle by Epps trying to save it along the end line. Derek Anderson with consecutive 3-pointers. Now has 12 points for the Cats, and their lead has gone back to 7.
Well, you got to know coming behind you is going to be a wildcat. You see Epps coming in your living room, taking a little dive. Didn't come up with that one. I'd give him about a 6.4 on that one. Not much form on that dive.
Patterson for 3. Caught by Evans. And a foul on Shepard as he put the body on Evans.
Well, I tell you, that's a tough shot to see coming out. You know, Patterson comes in and takes a difficult shot. Shepard gets called for the foul because he backed under Brian Evans as he was going for that rebound.
Mujezinovich returns, and Mandeville gave them some good minutes. Goes to the Indiana bench. Not a shooting foul. And on the next foul committed by Kentucky, each team will be in the bonus situation. Indiana has already committed 7 this half. 8:50 remaining. Reed. Double team now, and that was a kick ball by Anderson. Went out of bounds. Indiana will play it in with 17 on the shot clock.
Very good defense right there. Bob Knight is telling Neil Reed, you got him in the air, you got to draw the foul. Because he had him the only position he could get him because the corner, he couldn't get around the corner. But Kentucky is covering up for one another very well.
Wilkerson left alone, and it was way off. But Mujezinovich there to follow, and he has 6 points. Anderson nearly got caught in the air. Prickett missed the left-hander. Mujezinovich. Kentucky by 5. Indiana has the ball with 8:07 remaining.
You wonder, when does the leg start to become a factor in the game? And I suspect in the next 3 minutes we'll determine whether or not it will be a factor. I think it will be for Kentucky because they're in great shape, and Indiana looks like they're slowing it down and not cutting as hard off of picks.
The pace has not been as quick here in the second half. Wilkerson's pass intercepted, and Epps left alone to lay it in.
See, those are 2 examples. There's a weak pass, and Anderson and Patterson made a very poor attempt to go get it, and nobody gets back. Those are examples that your legs are going.
And Shepard was applying the body all the way up the court, and he's called for the foul. his second.
You wonder about legs. Watch, there's no attempt made by Patterson, and then here's the getting back. There's Sharon Wilkerson trying to get back, but there's no chance he's going to catch Anthony Epps getting back for that little 2 points.
Both teams in the bonus now. Each team has committed 7 fouls here in the second half. So it's Sharon Wilkerson at the free throw line. He's no relation to the former Hoosier Bobby Wilkerson, was a member of the Hoosiers' undefeated national championship team, 75-76. Blocked. McCarty knocked away the shot of Mujezinovic, and that went out of bounds off Mujezinovic, and Kentucky will play it in after a TV timeout. 7:32 remaining in Indianapolis. The Wildcats lead by 7. Indianapolis, where Kentucky leads by 7. Before the break, we made a reference to Bobby Wilkerson, a member of the undefeated national championship team for Indiana. It was 20 years ago that you were a part of a team that went 32-0, the last team to go through the season undefeated and win the national championship on the men's side, of course. UConn did it for the ladies last year. Yeah, they're having a little reunion for the team this Thursday, as a matter of fact, down in Bloomington, Indiana. It'll be good to see some of the guys. Frankly, that's a long time ago. I don't remember a lot about that. Rick Pitino didn't like the call. He thought Indiana deflected that pass out of bounds, but the officials say no. Indiana will play it in with 7:18 left, and Kentucky leading 73-66. Well, Bob Knight remembers it, and he says even though he thinks there are more excellent players in this day and age in college basketball than there were 20 years ago, that your team would still be as successful today. Evans missed a 3. Mujezinovic, tough shot, got it to go. That's what he brings to the team, but you know, going back to what Bob Knight said, and the essence of it is true. People have changed, but the game hadn't changed, and you know that, and I don't disagree with that at all. We played well enough that we might have been able to beat some teams. Going undefeated with this kind of talent is a whole other subject. Walker a miss. Anderson had the rebound. Oh, Evans picked up his fourth. Evans. And that's a big call, and it looked to be the correct call. Anderson had the rebound cleanly and then was bumped, and that's 4 on Evans. Well, Brian Evans is the guy that's been keeping Indiana in the game, more so in the first half than in the second half, but you can't afford to get him in foul trouble. Number 34, you see him go forward, and you see Anderson come backwards. There's no doubt about it. The foul is appropriately called, and Evans picks up his 4th. And Derek Anderson shoots 1 and 1. He transferred from Ohio State following the 93-94 season, sat out last year. Of course, he made a big impression on the Kentucky coaching staff in the 93 Maui Invitational, when for Ohio State he scored 23 points against the Cats. Well, they're also familiar with him because he's from Louisville, so yes, they've been able to see him quite a few times. In fact, was heading to Louisville out of high school, and then when Jimmy Jackson opted to leave Ohio State for the NBA, saw the opening there for playing time right away and decided to go to Ohio State. It didn't work out there, and he transferred to Kentucky. 6:25 remaining. Kentucky leads by 7. That's a 5-second call. You get it without a dribble, and Andre Patterson, clearly you have to say his head's not in the game, and I think enough that Bob Knight's going to make a decision and get him out of it, but he's just standing there. If you're standing with the ball and not without a dribble, once he picked it up, he had 5 seconds to make a play. He didn't. Antoine Walker is excited about the defensive play he makes to get the turnover for Kentucky. And Robbie Eggers has replaced Patterson. Now 17 turnovers committed by Indiana. They had only 8 in the first half. Epps for 3. Foul on the rebound action. And it's against Kentucky, and again Rick Pitino did a dance on the sideline. But I told you when we talked to him, remember as we talked to him earlier this morning, and you watch him now, they're just two different, you know, you can see the facial change on both he and Bob Knight. If they make that call, I believe, on Tony Delk. Always involved in the game, always teaching, and just emotionally just very involved in what goes on with his team. Neil Reed shooting the 1 and 1. Foul on Delk was his 3rd. Of course, Rick Pitino is partially to blame for the loss against UMass the other night because he's an alumnus of UMass and was on the committee when they selected John Calipari as the coach. They had a deal with Coach Calipari but couldn't come up with enough money to get him, and Rick Pitino said, I'll give the university $5,000 extra. That was what Calipari needed to take the job. If you'll give this man the job, he wrote the check. They hired Calipari. We know what John has done at UMass, Rick Pitino's alma mater, and the other night, Rick lost to his alma mater.
But he knew he was a good coach, and that's why he fought for him at UMass.
No basket. Whistle for a foul away from the ball. Anderson made a three that does not count. It's on Neil Reed. Of course, every time the whistle blows now, the Hoosier fans will hold their breath because Evans has been left in the game with 4 fouls by Coach Knight with 6 minutes left. Foul on Reed, his first. Delk makes the first of a 1-1. Coming up next, it's the Riders Ladies Skating Championships.
Bob Knight takes a chance here. There's no question about it. You keep Brian Evans in here, you risk losing him. But I think he's got a senior. Now, this is the 5th-year senior. He's been there for a while, and he knows that Bob Knight knows he has no chance without this young man in the game. And as you get closer, you got to wonder, does he take him out for a break? I think you do.
Kentucky by 7, 5:45 remaining. 10 times Indiana has climbed to within a point in this game, but they have not been able to take the lead. Evans a little bit quieter here in the second half, as you'd expect after a 19-point first half.
But also Kentucky's paying a great deal more attention to him. And Anderson has been able to guard him as Sharon Wilkerson knocks down a 3 with the time clock running down.
Clock was at 2, and Wilkerson banged in a 3-pointer. And it's a 4-point game with 5:15 remaining. McCarty bumped on the drive by Mujezinovic. And that is his 4th. So Evans is playing with 4, and now Mujezinovic has collected his 4th.
He's trying to play defense out on the perimeter. Just about all of Kentucky players, you know, we were talking about UCLA being able to have people that can catch and make plays. Just about all of Kentucky's players can catch the ball and make a move off the dribble. You can see Kentucky's 10 for 10 this half.
And they've now made 13 in a row, dating back to the first half. For the game, they're 16 out of 19 from the line.
Well, they haven't been shooting the ball from the line that well. They're only about a 65% shooting team.
1 out of 2 that time. The streak ends at 13. And Neil Reed got it over to Evans. And he has cooled off in a big way. Delk the rebound. Mujezinovic took it away, didn't get the bounce. Out of bounds, Indiana ball. Mujezinovic was poked in the eye. We mentioned that he has just taken off a mask that he wore in the first 4 games. He was injured in practice, took a shot in the maximum bone.
You can see how tough he is, too.
Yes.
I mean, he got up. Now, you can see he knocks the ball loose, does Harris. He tries to take it up, partially blocked there by McCarty. Then the action there, look a bit on the back, and it was Tony Delk who actually on a follow-through accidentally poked him in the eye.
Well, he actually cracked the bone above his upper teeth, part of the upper jaw. Max Miller bone, they told us yesterday, was the name of that bone. And he'd been wearing a protective mask, looked like Jason from the movies. Reed missed a 3-pointer. McCarty the rebound.
This is what Kentucky will get you when you give them numbers like this.
Kentucky leads by 5. Anderson tried to make it 8, missed a 3, got his own rebound.
And that'll kill you. When you let a man take a jump shot and then you allow him to get the ball back, that'll kill you.
And the lead is back to 7. Anderson has 12 points this half and 16 for the game.
That plea was from this play. It was to Neil, block out. You see Neil Reed goes out to try to get to the shot. He doesn't get there. Anderson, as I said, best player they have on both sides of the ball, comes up with it after a long shot. Very difficult play. He makes it look easy. Bob Knight telling Neil Reed, you got to block out.
It's the first free throw attempt of the season for Robbie Eggers. The foul on Delk was his 4th. So Delk and Pope of Kentucky have 4 fouls each. And Eggers has his 3rd point of the game. Robbie's a sophomore from Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Didn't play much.
They gave him the ball. He can't come in. They gave him the ball, and John Clarkerty rightfully is stopping him. Once you give the young man the ball, you can't let him come in the game. You can't let the guy who's trying to come in this case, Antoine Walker, come into the game.
Might have bothered Eggers. Momentary delay. He missed the second. 4:25 remaining. Kentucky with the ball and a 6-point lead.
I think at this point, if you're Kentucky, you run your offense and you just try to make sure you get good shots. No need to be in a hurry.
Epps went right by Reed and was fouled by Reed. Second on Neil Reed. Brian Evans, after the 19-point first half, during which he went 7 for 10 from the floor, is only 2 of 8 here in the second half.
A couple of reasons. One, I think he's a little tired, but two, I guarantee you Rick Pitino went in and because he had told these guys about him. That's why Derek Anderson was put on him at the beginning, as you and I talked to Rick this morning, was for defensive purposes, and Anderson let him get away, and I'm sure he heard an earful at halftime.
Epps. It'll be 2 shots the rest of the way for Rick Pitino's team, as Indiana has committed 10 team fouls this half. Epps, best free throw shooter on the team last year at 85%. Made both on this trip. 9 points, 5 assists for Epps, who got the start today at point guard. And the lead is 8. And time running out on Indiana. 4 minutes left.
Well, you can see when they run people at Evans now, they're a lot bigger, like Antoine Walker's guarding.
Evans missed again. Pope the rebound. Walker gave it back to Epps.
Smart play. Good patience.
Delp. And a good rebound by Reed. 3.5 minutes remaining. Still Kentucky by 8 at 82-74.
If you look at the pace of Indiana as compared to the first half, you don't see them necessarily. That's the first time they've really beaten anybody off the dribble. That's a sign of legs, too. You don't beat people that way because you're tired. You just don't have the energy. Rick Pitino has decided he wants a timeout.
With 3:11 remaining, CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball will continue after this message and a word from your local. Looks like right to the action.
Charlie Miller back in for Indiana. He replaces Robbie Eggers.
6-point lead for Kentucky, 3:11 remaining. Big part of Kentucky's ability to maintain the lead. Their free throw shooting here in the second half. They're 13 out of 14. Brian Evans, after a 19-point first half, has cooled off here in the second. And we're down to 3 minutes left. The CBS Sports Show comes your way following this game. Leaner by Anderson, wouldn't go, but Walker wound up with the ball and dropped it in. And Antoine Walker is 22.
But Anderson makes the play because he missed the shot and he was able to get there again to make a nice little tap.
And Wilkerson did not score in the first half, has 9 here in the second half. The lead 6 for Kentucky, 2:33 left.
Kentucky can always go inside to Antoine Walker because nobody's guarded him well all night, all afternoon. He can always look for a basket there. They've cleared out their offense inside, and that's the way they can get their offense.
That time he scored over Miller. Walker is 10 out of 12 from the floor. Miller lost the handle, as did Epps, but Delk there to play it in the corner. Well, the way this game has gone, it's tough to turn any lead comfortable. There have been a number of spurts by each team, but Kentucky looks comfortable at the moment. McCarty had it rattle out. The lead 8 for UK with 1:57 remaining. And a foul on McCarty on the rebound. His second personal. And that gets Kentucky to 10 team fouls in the half, and Indiana will shoot 2 the rest of the way. Felk Pope have been playing with 4, as have Evans and Mujezinovic.
Well, I would say that it would be Kentucky can easily lose either one of those guys and not be as nearly as effective by that loss as Indiana would with both of their guys. Harris as well as Brian Evans have both been factors for Indiana.
Wilkerson to shoot 2. He has 9 points and 6 assists. Coming off a career high 14 points earlier this week in the win in Bloomington over Notre Dame. He also had 9 rebounds in that game.
Well, he's also a young man, as you look at Todd Linderman, who hadn't played in a year. Remember, you well know, he broke his leg and then had to sit out. And so, it looks like he's starting to wear a little of the rust off of his game.
Fortunately, has not had any problems with the leg this season. He made 1 out of 2. And the lead 7 for the Cats with 1:46 left.
When you think about Indiana, they got blown out basically by Kentucky. Connecticut. Duke did a good job against them. And you come in here and you think about on paper teams, and in this rivalry, you pretty much can kind of throw that to the wind.
That's what Rick Pitino said this morning. Anderson with a shot clock at 2, blocked by Evans. And it is a violation of the shot clock.
Yeah, it didn't get to the rim or wasn't in the air or out of a hand before the shot clock goes. That's a violation.
Coach Knight wants a timeout. His players didn't see him as they inbounded. Now he's changed his mind. He has taken a seat.
This is a valuable possession. That's why he's trying to get a timeout. They need to get either a foul shot or a basket from here.
Reed for 3 they need. Wouldn't go.
Yeah, because now you're down to a minute. You get that basket down 2.
Even with the lead, Kentucky will push if it's there. Delk missed the shot, and it was lost out of bounds by Anderson, but a foul called against Indiana for a shove into the back of Anderson. I believe it's Charlie Miller guilty of the push. It is.
Yeah, that was a basket that if they get to go down, they're down 7, they get a chance at it. But once they lose that one, you got 56 seconds. It puts you in a real difficult position. You see, Evans splits the defense, and that's what allows, first of all, the shot to be thrown over. Wide open is Neil Reed, and he just didn't get it to go down. You got a wide open shot, Neil Reed can make it, and it didn't go. You got to wonder, was it legs? Because the shot was short.
Coming up on the CBS Sports Show, figure skating, Nancy Kerrigan and Katarina Witt featured, and also the Ford Taurus College Football Report. That's coming up at the end of this game. Kentucky leads by 9 with 50 seconds left.
And they just shot great from the foul line this half. Double dribble.
Yep. Mujezinovic didn't understand the call at first. And it looks like Kentucky has rebounded nicely from the disappointment, the loss to Massachusetts earlier this week.
They put a lot of pressure on you, Sean. They just keep coming at you, and with new players, different schemes. You notice they didn't put much full court pressure in the second half, saved their legs because Rick Pitino knew his team was in a fight, and he wanted to make sure that the legs were fresh.
Billy Packer said on the first game, even though Kentucky lost to an excellent UMass team the other night, he thinks Kentucky has the most talent and is the best team and will be, and I still agree with him.
I think they will be. I don't know if they are the best team yet, but I think they have the most talent. But because you have the most talent, if you don't have chemistry, it doesn't mean you have the best team.
Traveling the call against Anderson. And Rick Pitino wants a 20-second timeout. Not fully comfortable with the 9-point lead. 14.8 seconds left. The genuine Chevrolet players of the game. 4 points. 7 rebounds. He's 10 of 12.
Pitino, that was important to make sure he had that. Because your team, when you got young people, you're going to count on Mercer. You're going to count on Anderson a little bit. First-year player, newcomer. It's important you get them back up on stride. But he says, look, we lost the game. Now you understand we can lose if we don't play hard and smart all the time. And so I think, as you said, they've got a chance to be a really good team.
And Evans with a 3 and a quick timeout. With 6.9 seconds left, Kentucky leads by 6. they're going to have an excellent season, they need to get more out of some individual players. It would seem guys like Patterson and Miller who have the ability.
Extra scoring they're going to need to get.
College football report. That's in 7 seconds. Kentucky with the ball, leading by 6, and a quick foul committed by Charlie Miller, and he is fouled out of the game.
Number 3, Charlie Miller. That's his 5th personal.
Well, he was telling Charlie Miller, they knew that play was coming, and he's telling him he's not reacting quick enough. And you and I were just talking about Charlie Miller. One of the things that it has to be his reaction, recognition and reaction as you talk to the coaching staff has been the biggest issue, whether or not he sees things and then react to it. And that was one of those instances where he did not act fast enough based upon Bob Knight's thinking anyway.
We really didn't see Patterson after Coach Knight was very vocal in his displeasure of Patterson's play.
But I have to say this, if Indiana
North Atlantic Conference teams